In this video, we'll be discussing the fundamentals of off-page SEO. Off-page SEO refers to the SEO work that you do off of your website on other people's websites. This practice is often synonymous with link building, also called backlink building. Link building is the process of building links, of course. It's the process of creating, or otherwise attaining, links on other people's websites that point to your website. So let's go through an example. Suppose that Tom has a website called puppyplace.com where he sells his ebook on doghouse construction. And suppose Susie has a blog about pets called susiesblog.com. Tom wants his website puppyplace.com to rank higher in Google for the keyword how to build a doghouse. So Tom writes an article on cool doghouse designs for Susie and he emails it to her. Susie likes Tom's article, so she publishes it on her website. Now, Tom's article contains a link to his own website, of course. So, hence, Tom has just attained a link from Susie. Again, this is often called a backlink. Tom has just attained a backlink from Susie. Now, a couple days later, one of Google's programs, often called Googlebot or a spider, visits Susie's webpage and sees this new article on her website. And Googlebot also sees this newly created link pointing at Tom's website. Thus, Google infers that the content at the Puppy Place website must have value because, after all, Susie is linking to it. Every incoming link is, in Google's eyes, seen as a vote. So, in essence, Google sees Susie's link as an indicator, as a vote, that puppyplace.com is a good website. And through the years, as puppyplace.com accumulates more and more such links, this website will hopefully rank higher and higher on the Google search results page. So this is an idealized explanation of off-page SEO in a nutshell. But now let's dive in a bit deeper. Let's go back to the early days of Google and see if we can develop a more intuitive understanding of how Google works. So back in 1998, two University of Stanford students named Larry Page and Sergey Brin developed the PageRank algorithm, a new method for ranking web pages. They then wrote a couple academic papers and they went on to build their own search engine called Backrub. Fortunately, they later made the wise decision to change the name of their company from Backrub to Google, and they also made a much better looking logo. Now, as a fun fact, this horrible picture on the left really was their first logo. It's actually a picture of Larry Page's hand, which he stuck into a computer scanner. Now, as another fun fact, the word Google is actually a misspelling of the word Google with an OL, which means the number 1 followed by 100 zeros. But no one in the office caught the spelling mistake when the domain name was first registered back in September of 1997. And the domain name with the correct spelling, googol.com, was already taken anyway. The early days of Google are all nicely described in the surprisingly entertaining book called I'm Feeling Lucky, The Confessions of Google Employee Number 59 by Douglas Edwards. I highly recommend it. Okay, so why are Larry Page and Sergey Brin so rich? Why is Google one of the most profitable companies in the world? Well, initially their success was in part based on their implementation of the observation that the more links people make to a web page, the more useful that web page probably is. If you enjoy reading mind-numbing academic papers, you can go read the 17-page paper from 1998 about their initial algorithm design at the Stanford University website. It's entitled The PageRank Citation Ranking, Bringing Order to the Web by Larry Page. This paper outlines the billion-dollar idea that eventually went on to make Google one of the most successful companies of all time, because this was the idea that enabled Google to sort websites better than their competitors, primarily Yahoo and AltaVista back in those days. Now, the mathematics behind PageRank is pretty complex, but basically it all boils down to this. If your web page has no other web pages linking to it, then that is bad. If your web page has lots of other web pages linking to it, then that is good. And if the web page that is linking to you also has lots of other web pages linking to it, then that is very, very good. In our slide here, we can see that the top web page is obviously more important than any of these other web pages along the bottom. These ones on the bottom have no other pages pointing to them, but the page on top is getting 3 links from pages that also have 3 links on each of them. So it's fairly easy to program a computer to simply count the number of links pointing to a web page and then just make the assumption that the web page with the most links is probably better. So the general concept behind Larry Page's big idea is fairly simple to understand in theory. And though this idea is a couple decades old now, it's still a big part of how a web page's ranking in Google is determined. Websites with more links, again also called backlinks, float higher up on the search engine results page, also called the SERP. And websites that don't have many links float to the bottom of the search index. You want to be as high as possible because the vast majority of people are only going to click on one of the top 3 search results they see. If you look around the web, you'll find dozens of studies featuring some very pretty heat maps, which show that people devote most of their attention to the top of the web page. The bubbles in red here show the areas where most people click. Or some studies do eye tracking and attempt to gauge where searchers are devoting most of their attention. But anyway you slice it, it's obvious that you want to be up high at the top of Google's index.